Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 83. The other shoe has dropped. Recorded live Monday, March 25th, 2024, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I am Christopher Spera, the editor-chief at iTechGear.org, and joining this week, back from the dead, back with the dulcet tones, Mr. Chris Gavula. How are you, sir?
Feeling like the dead. No, no, doing good. Glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Good. Glad that you are back. Of course, former contributing editor over Gear Diary and Pocket Now, and of course, editor over here at iTechGear.org. And we're glad that you're back with us this week. So
thank you.
You're very welcome. Also joining us, back, I guess, from I don't know where you went this week aside from church, Joel, but the former contributing writer over at Gear Diary, and currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show and host of the Living in the Retro Arcade podcast, Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, both medically and kind of mentally. It's a short week, so that is where the good thing is happening here. I have
good
2 more days of work this week, and then I'm off for 4. So
nice,
very nice.
But I also have my group project open for my master's degree class. So
nice. Okay,
there'll be extra days or extra stuff in the evening. So, but
well, you
doing
know,
well.
Mama did say that there would be days like this.
Oh,
there would be days like this. My mama said.
My mama said, but Joel and I did have a nice meeting earlier this week.
That's true.
We did.
We all usually get to see each other, so it's kind of nice those occurrences where things collide and we are able to make that work.
Right now, he's one of us, the only one I've met.
That's true. That's true. And I would consider all of us very good friends.
It is.
I would consider us all very, very good friends, if not family. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And last but certainly never, ever least, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, and of course, editor over here at iTechGear.org as well, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I am absolutely great, but I'd be a heck of a lot better if people would quit picking on Apple. I'm tired of it.
Man.
In fact, it's starting to make me want to write some profanity-laced emails to
when you're the big dog.
A few tech editors out there who apparently don't know any more about technology than our government, and more on this a little later.
Yeah, but apparently, and speaking of the government, and we're here to help.
We're here to help.
That's right.
I'll throw a lifesaver. I'll throw a lifesaver. You want spearmint or wintergreen?
Thank you.
Yeah.
But apparently, it's really very, very interesting. And I think, Larry, you were the one that kind of threw this one out at us this week. The DOJ has picked the wrong fight.
Well, they have
by going after Apple. So,
and there's more to this than, you hate Apple, I love Apple, or whatever. I think, first of all, I absolutely love Mark Gurman's quote on this one. The lawsuit claims that the main reason people hold on to their iPhones is because Apple makes it so difficult to switch. Not because people, I don't know, like their iPhones, so they keep them and they keep working.
Well,
so
shame on Apple for making a quality product.
First of all, that's utter BS, because for all the Apple haters out there, Apple has a section on their website dedicated solely to moving away from their iPhone to an Android. They will hold your hand. So how in the hell
help you get there, right?
Well,
they will help
you. Well, they will, but only so far. Because here's the thing,
Joel, they won't. They actually take you all the way. I went up there and did it,
including notes.
Yeah. They tell you that you can't move that one.
Color me skeptical.
Right? Yeah, they tell you that you can't move the notes and you're stuck.
But we all have to pick different applications when we change phones. I mean, I've gone through this. I know you guys have, but I've read 6 articles this week on this very topic. They all say the same thing, that the DOJ picked the wrong fight with Apple. But before we start bantering about this, and we will, let me be perfectly clear about one thing. dear current administration, dear last administration, and dear future administration, you don't know squat about technology. There aren't 20 people on the Congress floor who know where the settings app is on their iPhone, let alone how to use it. So you need to get yourself some serious technology legal counsel before you step your white stallion into that Rubicon and get your butt knocked off of it, because that's what's going to happen.
You can call me
whatever you want.
Anytime. Give me a call.
But before we even go into bantering about it, I do think it's interesting on a kind of a meta note, if you will, in all of this. This sucker even got Walt Mossberg to talk.
I know, got him to open his mouth.
And he hasn't said anything about anything in a while. He's kind of retired, and all of a sudden he's all over X going, "What is wrong with these people?" Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, if you woke him
it's
up,
not no, but I got to be clear. This has nothing at all to do with me being an Apple fanboy, but it has everything to do with what's right and what is wrong. Our administration wants to dumb down Apple products so everybody can afford them and use them. So if you'll all think the $99 Android phone versus that $1,200 iPhone Pro Max, I honestly hope that Apple humiliates our government with this one.
Oh, please. This is the one time
Apple
that
knows infinitely more about tech than our government. And B, I think they have almost as much money as our government. So may the best lawyer win.
Amen. But
open the show.
I have a really hard time with anybody in either house or anybody directly connected with one of the major branches of our federal government in doing anything, sponsoring anything, talking about anything related to tech. They don't understand it.
And I think it's important to add to that the quote unquote investigation that has resulted in what we're now seeing started in the previous administration and continued in this administration. So this is not really a political football.
Keep going, probably.
And it will keep going. This is not really a political football in the traditional sense. So people don't get excited. This is an
airborne missile. It's got a lot of fuel on board.
So people don't get excited that so-and-so president did this and so-and-so president did that. That's not one of these arguments. This thing has been going on for a long time. This is a cross administration, cross everything kind of thing.
And that's the one thing where I will certainly agree with you, Chris, well, both Chris's, that they don't know what they don't know
anything
about
any of them,
tech,
right?
Right.
No, and
it doesn't matter who.
This is not a partisan related issue.
Right.
All right.
And the only thing that I will say is there are literal things that they could go after Apple for.
True.
Are they going for the right things?
No.
Probably not. Yeah.
No, they are not. And there's no doubt about that in my mind anyway, but there are things that they could go after Apple for.
Well, and apparently this thing has been written in such a way that they've never written them like this before. It's written almost as a story, as a narrative. And it's like, okay, you're trying to sell it. That's what you're really doing here.
Yes.
And that's the problem. Because you're not basing it on your legal reasons. You're trying to sell it to people, which tells me you're not confident in your arguments.
Well, this feels more like they're big tech. I want people to hate big tech. And so I'm going to do everything that I can to get people to start.
I just wish I knew what is the motivator up there for doing this? What? I don't get that part. I mean, I agree with what Joel just said. And I truly believe that the reason they probably are going to go after the wrong thing is because they're ignorant of the right thing. They don't know. Right. They just don't know.
I mean, let's face it, there are definitely things that you can get Apple for on any competitive behavior. Definitely.
Oh, sure.
And you can get actually a number of folks for a lot of the same things right now. And and we see it happening. We see it all over the place.
It happens at the local Piggly Wiggly grocery store.
And,
it happens in life.
We call some of those things out even on this show when we're not happy with something that one of these guys has done.
Absolutely.
I think we've called out all of the big 3 or 4 at different times for different things that probably could all of which could possibly be actionable. But this, you're calling a company that has only a 50% market share of monopoly. That on the surface is ridiculous. And you're trying to redefine the word monopoly, which is kind of interesting, which I think is never going to fly, but go ahead and try.
Yeah.
You know
Like
what?
that,
They
the
didn't
monopoly,
they never
no.
lifted. They never lifted a legal finger way back when in the old AT&T long lines world until AT&T had over a 90% market share.
Yeah, very true.
Then they moved.
Well, and the other and a lot of the big things you see here is, well, okay, the Apple Watch doesn't work with other things, and other watches don't work well with the Apple Watch. Okay, I'm sorry, kids, but I can't take my Ford parts and put them on my Chevy car.
No, absolutely
what the heck?
not.
But it's not quite the same comparison.
It kind of is. It is.
Mean,
You're talking about
analogy.
accessories.
What's
You're
not
talking
the
about
same
accessories.
about it?
No,
but accessories, yeah,
I'll tell you what's not the same. All right, I can take my Pixel Watch and I can make it with iOS, make it work with iOS using the Wear OS integration that Google has put forth with iOS. Is it going to work exactly as it does on my Pixel? No, it's not.
No, but I can also take my Samsung Galaxy Watch and put it on my iPhone.
Right. But I can
because
still
Apple
do it.
Gives me a way to do that.
Right.
So there's no
but
difference.
I can still do it. That's the point, is I can still do it on an iOS device. Now, can I buy an Apple Watch and make it work with my Pixel? No, not at all. It's impossible. So
that is true. It is not. It's certainly not possible to do that.
And these are not parts for phones. I could see where you can say, well, I should be able to use my iPhone case and my Pixel phone. Well, no,
but
they're different
accessories
shape.
Too. Same thing with car accessories. They don't all fit each other either.
And now the one thing that they do allow me to work with other devices are AirPods. I can use my AirPods with my Android phone,
and I can use my standard Bluetooth headsets with my Apple phone. So what?
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. So I mean, there's certain things that Apple doesn't let you do. Case in point, Apple Watch on Android, and certain things that it does do. To me, I don't see how I think the Apple Watch can be made to work with Android. Period. It can.
Well, of course it can,
but they're just not doing it.
Of course it can. They don't want to make that happen, though.
So why should they? I guess the bigger question is why should they?
But that's the thing you can call for being anti-competitive.
But somewhere in Washington, someone woke up and they said, "Oh my God, it's Apple just crossed $3 trillion. We got to stop this." And I don't know.
Didn't one of the other companies do that? They were, do it before Apple. I thought Microsoft did it before Apple.
Microsoft's done it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we already sued Microsoft, so we're bored. We already did that.
Right.
No, they could do it again.
They could do it again,
and they probably will.
They might with this AI stuff. And odds are really good. They're heading down that path too. There's been some concerns about that already as well.
Well,
that's true.
Look, this is really all coming out of and I wouldn't be surprised if Epic was really behind the lobbying on this. But this is all coming from the whole Epic taking on Apple and not being happy with the results that they got when they chased after Apple.
Some folks say it's a side result of the whole beeper fiasco as well, and it might be, unrelated. Who knows?
Right now, the one of the big things that I know a number of folks are saying is Apple really needs to speed up the RCS implementation.
But here's the thing with that, Chris. So here's the thing. So one of the arguments has been, and one of the arguments that Google and stuff has made, well, they got to go to RCS because we don't have secure interoperability. Well, I got news for you. Google's encryption only works with Google. It doesn't work with anybody else. It doesn't even work with other carriers like WhatsApp and all those kinds of things that they say they play with. Yeah, you can exchange the messages, but you still don't get the end encryption. Of the world could care less. You're still in it, but you're still in a freaking walled garden. You're just in somebody else's walled garden. So that's a bullshit argument. I'm sorry, but it is.
No. I agree. I agree with you. I don't think that Apple should be required to change iMessage in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
All right. Not required. Now, if they want to go ahead and add RCS as a security implementation, I think that's a great idea. But they should
remember, RCS doesn't have security implementation.
Interoperability.
RCS doesn't really have a security implementation. It's Google's security implementation, and it only works with Google's stuff. It doesn't work with anybody else's stuff. So,
I hear you. But my point is, Apple shouldn't be made to create a bridge between blue bubbles and green bubbles so that they're all the same color bubble.
But I'm going to be curious. I'm going to be curious because even as all this progresses, because we all know we've been reading articles the last few weeks here that Apple and Google are kind of doing something behind the scenes relating to AI. And we're not quite sure what that's going to turn out to be just yet, right? So who's to say they aren't, talking about other possible, ways to work together? They have before in weird ways. I mean, let's face it, we're running Google search on Apple phones, guys. So it's not entirely unheard of. So I'd be curious to see where this is going in light of all this other stuff happening.
Yeah.
But if they work together more closely and they're both being sued by everybody under the sun right now.
Oh my God.
You have to kind of, and again, it's the dog pile, but you have to wonder would them working together actually make
a difference?
No, would it make a stronger case for people who are suing them? Because
potentially, yes. They're colluding. They're colluding.
You could refer to it as colluding, depending on how you view that.
So that's going to be highly dependent, though. I mean, because that's.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean that.
It's highly subjective. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's. There was a time that I remember in my life where companies like this actually did work together and establish standards. That seems to be falling out of favor lately, at least.
That stopped happening a long time ago.
Yeah, that's been gone. I think that you're right. I think that's been gone on the wayside. Other than the fact that a few key standards like the Wi-Fi standards that are still agreed to, but those were already underway years ago, right? So
correct.
I do want to raise one last point. One of the big arguments has been that somehow Apple was responsible for the death of the Amazon Fire Phone. That's the stupidest thing I think I've heard this year.
Fire Phone was a garbage product.
I was going to say, let me be clear right now. It was a piece of crap product. That's why no one bought it. It was garbage.
Was a piece of crap product that could have been improved upon if given the opportunity, had Amazon really invested in their store. They're closing their store.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, their store was a huge part of the problem. The hardware they chose at a premium price, by the way, kids, was terrible.
Oh,
and anybody who knows, especially earlier on, there's more of a variety now. But for the longest time, Amazon's tablets were a piece of crap as well. They were at the low end of the food chain. Well, you can get some okay Kindles at the higher end now, but you're right. Overall, they're still kind of at the lower end.
The real tablet is junk.
Yeah.
The actual hardware ain't all that great.
So it is
something
what it
Joel
is.
mentioned. Something Joel mentioned a minute ago just lit something up in my memory bank, and it's
here we go. Hold on.
This is important because we don't have this today, and I think Joel said something about companies helping each other or whatever. I remember when I was in high school, I grew up in a small town in Kansas that had 820 people. We had 2 gas stations. One of them was about to go under, and the other guy that owned the other gas station loaned the other one $10,000. Back then, that was a lot of money, so he could stay in business. Do you think that would ever happen today?
Well, the last time I've seen that was Microsoft helping out Apple when Apple was about to go under years ago.
Yeah,
actually, that was years ago. Like Joel said, it was years ago.
It was in Microsoft's best interest to do that because they were fighting their monopoly lawsuits. So it was a good thing for them to do at the time. But
Chris and I had talked about this a while back.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned to him that one of the things that I would like to see come out of this, if anything at all, was Apple and Google actually investing in a third option. All right. In other words, it's a duopoly right now. You've got iOS or you've got Android. Now there's bazillions of other manufacturers out there that are using Android, whether it's pure or with a custom paint coat of paint on it.
Right.
Wow.
Paint a coat.
Anyway.
Wow.
But there's only 2. There was more choice when there was, Windows Mobile or Windows Phone, and we had the opportunity or the real choice of which one do I want. I would like to see them fund or be required to fund a third option. Now, whether that's breathing life back into Windows Phone or doing something else, I don't
or
really
worst
care.
case, or even worst case, just make the walls a little shorter so people can crawl back and forth. You know,
Yep.
I would like to see the third. I would like to see the third.
that would be great
option.
if we could, but I don't know that you'll ever see that.
This kind of leads us into our second item about the overall.
It does, where Apple
which,
doesn't have an Android monopoly, but really wants one. So,
you know, and they're not even close worldwide. It's just in the U.S. The U.S. is the only place they're even sort of close.
Right.
Right, which is another reason why they don't have a monopoly on the market right now, because
it's like what 22%, something like that,
something
worldwide.
like that. I don't know why everybody's busting a flange gasket over Apple's controlling, over controlling everything.
But you know, the EU even said, "Hey, we can't do anything about iMessage because, quite frankly, they don't control the market."
Right.
So they had to walk away from that one. So, you know, okay, it's interesting. So it's interesting that we're going to try to beat that drum here. It didn't sell overseas, but okay.
Right. I don't understand.
And by the way, kids, let's not forget that the number one thing that happens with this outside with things like messaging is WhatsApp. And who controls WhatsApp, kids? Meta.
Yeah, I was going to say Facebook. Yeah.
There's a great arbiter of my data and protector of my privacy and my rights. Jeez. Really?
Yeah. Meta to the rescue.
That's the bucket we want to throw because that's the end result here.
Well,
kids.
and until Facebook bought them, they were that bastion of, hey, it's not Facebook, it's not Twitter, it's not anything
else. Was a cool third-party option that didn't have influence from anybody else.
And then all the users got thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And then Zuck screwed everybody. So there you go.
No.
You know.
So,
I mean,
when I look at what are our choices, I go, really? That's where you want us to go? Really?
Right. But,
yeah.
But to go back to the iMessage thing, though, a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is gonna break iMessage." I'm like, it's not. It's just gonna add functionality to it.
I don't think. But again, I don't think they need to do that.
I mean, I think it's going to be completely transparent, just like anything else is.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, Chris, Mr. Spera, is that I don't think it's going to be one of those things that people will even notice in the end.
But you mean the RCS edition?
Yes.
I think that's absolutely true. I don't think people notice it, and I don't think people will use it either any more than they use SMS.
I think they will tell you how to turn it on, and unless you turn it on, A, you're not going to know.
Right.
And B, once you do turn it on, it's not going to matter.
But broadly, again, why should Apple have to do this? You don't ask WhatsApp or Telegram to do this. You're not forcing them to do it
yet,
and they have a bigger market share worldwide, kids.
Yet, that's the thing.
That's true.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
but nobody's making them be interoperable.
Well, there's also probably ulterior reasons for them to want to keep an SMS pipe there, at least for the government, anyway. And I'm not going to say what that is.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't deny that either. If I was you, I would say that's a fair thing to say.
Yep. Because I mean, there are reasons why the government is behind a push for RCS or a standard, and it ain't because that the government honors our privacy.
Yeah,
yeah. They aren't here to help.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest, kids. RCS or SMS ain't neither one that secure.
Nope.
So and certain people would like that a lot. I think we're all going to go over to Telegram and be done with it until it gets bought by somebody.
Yeah, and then we'll complain about how it doesn't work like it was supposed to work, or doesn't do. What
well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, which of these services does anymore? It's getting to that point.
One of these things is not like the other.
Pretty much. Yeah. So now we've got Apple.
By the way, if all these people are at all concerned about Russia and Ukraine, guess a Russian national owns Telegram, folks. So there's that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it just Yep. And our antivirus software is Russian too. There you go.
Yeah, Kaspersky. Yeah.
Yeah. So all these things get challenging as they go forward. And we're all going to be driving Chinese cars in a few years. So there you go.
Now you know why I like open source.
Well, there's a lot to like about open source, but
it has
the one thing
risks,
that I
too.
don't like is that they tend to be, and I'm going to say this and then we can either yak about it a little bit or move on, but open source to me tends to be, unfortunately, not very well supported, or at least so far from the mainstream that it appears to be.
That's a good.
Probably
that's
the
another.
latter,
That's
probably
another.
the latter.
Well, I was gonna
Yeah.
say that's a good it depends situation. There
Yeah.
are open source projects that are
Oh,
very
there's
well
some great
documented.
apps out there.
Oh, I don't
Just
doubt
great.
that.
Well,
but they're more subject to abandonware too. So those are the challenges with
well,
that
it
stuff.
depends what you're talking about, though.
It does depend on what you're talking about.
Yeah,
That
It's
is
true.
true.
What
That's what I'm
gonna say. The Linux kernel is very, very, very well supported. Okay, by multiple
is.
companies.
It is.
Right. However, if you pick some obscure application or some thing out there and you say, oh, you hop on this thing, see, like I have friends who love this application called Joplin, which is basically a syncable note-taking app, very similar.
I tried
to,
I tried it.
Yeah, very similar to OneNote. All right,
Yep.
but it's a much smaller application when compared to OneNote. It's also I also find some issues with it myself.
But a lot of big companies are backing open source products right now.
They
I mean,
are.
there's a lot of, and
you're
those
still-
I don't worry about.
But you're still seeing that more in the commercial space than you are in the consumer space. So there's a difference there.
This is true. Because like I saw an article the other day that tried to give you open source alternatives to Adobe Creative Cloud. I'm like, well, when was the last time you tried Photoshop? When was the last time you tried Lightroom?
Yeah.
It is a very different application than it was 15 years ago.
Oh my God.
There are things, AI tools that are built into Adobe Creative Cloud. There's none of that in open source.
Absolutely true.
The GIMP has an interface that was like Photoshop back in 1995. Yep. So it's just not the same. I'm sorry. Nope. Someone trying to tell me that an open source application is the same as Adobe Creative Cloud 2024, it's not. Period.
No, it's not. I have to agree. And
so, but
anyway,
to bring it back to this conversation here is Apple itself, their OS, everything they produce. Almost everything they produce is closed source, including the OS now. It didn't used to be that way.
And then again, I would argue there are good things and bad things about doing that. And I would argue there are good things and bad things about doing open source. You just have to decide, which ones you're willing to live with, I guess. Mm-hmm. Which set of problems are you willing to live with? Yep. So this leads us to the next conversation, right?
Yes.
Disappointing leaks.
Yeah, Apple is a disappointment.
Apple is a disappointment.
Bad leaks, bad
leak.
Vision
Need to buy
plans,
some Depends.
Did Tim Cook take the stage yet? No. So bad leaks are just. This pisses me off. I mean, it really does, because you're saying, well, they were going to launch iPads this month. I'm like, who told you that?
Yeah, the rumors said that. Apple never said that.
No, the rumors did.
We got to go back and look at the source article here too. Who wrote it?
Well, but so I think that's where I was going to go with this, Larry, too. So this article that we're talking about disappointing Apple leaks and about cheaper Apple Vision and about iPad Pro being delayed. The source of this is a source that is known for having an agenda in everything that they write.
No.
Yes.
Say it isn't so.
They don't actually report
Apple bashing unparent.
Yeah, well, and that's one of their agendas. But they have many agendas when you read stuff that they post. But the point I'm getting at with them is their pieces are disguised as news stories and factual based stories when in fact they're really opinion pieces.
No,
every single
one of them. But they're well written
Agreed.
as opinion pieces, so they masquerade very well, but they're not. And if you read them, you can almost always figure out what their agenda is very quickly.
When you're using Mac Rumors as your source for your article, come on, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Which they in turn use Mark Gurman, which he's been good in the past, but it doesn't mean he's always consistently good.
That's like a translation of a translation of a translation, and you wonder why it doesn't say the same thing anymore.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Everybody inserts their own little sort of spin on it, and by the time you get to the end here, it's like, yeah, you've totally spun this into something else.
I mean, about the only thing that's close to true is the articles I'm reading are saying what's coming in iOS 18, which even that is a little bit sketch. So,
I'm with you.
I mean, it's just because Apple hasn't released iPads in a couple of years doesn't mean anything.
So like to say, so sort of follow on what Larry was saying a second ago. I'm going to go here that there are some sources for these quote unquote rumors that are more reliable than others. Having said that, usually those sources will usually also give a reason as to why they think that's the case or why they think that's coming. And that to me often tells the difference between whether I give a rumor any credence or not. This crap, it's got nothing. There's no basis here. Yep. So sorry guys.
The fact that Apple hasn't released iPads in 2 years maybe isn't what we think it is, because you don't have to read or go very far to read many stories about how the iPad is quickly becoming a piece of hardware looking for a use case. I know you love yours, Chris. Don't get me wrong.
I do.
But I mean, you can read all day long about people saying the iPad it's headed toward obsolescence.
I don't know, but I do think there's a couple of different tracks going on. First of all, what we have to remember is when the 2018 and a little later the 2020 iPad came out, they were way ahead of where they needed to be with the iPad.
And maybe they slowed down. Who knows?
And so this whole need for coming up with a new one, I mean, people couldn't justify a new one because it didn't change enough. It didn't need to change.
That's right.
So that's an issue. And I do think there is a certain set market that will buy an iPad no matter what. And I am definitely in that market because of the way I use it.
Yep.
So where do we say, Larry? Use case.
Yep.
And this thing for me is in many ways it replaced what was my 2017 MacBook 12-inch because it's about the same size and weight. Whereas the iPad, the MacBook Air is not. It's a bloated piece of crap comparatively. I know people love it. I get it. But it's bloated. It's big compared to what the MacBook was. Mm-hmm. It's big compared to what the iPad is. So having said that, I want something of that thinner, smaller, lighter, portable, throw it in my bag nature. And the MacBook Air isn't that. It's a little too big for even the 13-inch is a little too big for that. So I want something smaller. So for me, this works well. Now, what I do think, and I think we've all talked about this before, what I would like to see is I would love to see what one of the rumors is, there might be an iPad Ultra that comes with something that looks closer to Mac OS on it. I'd be up for that. I'd be down for that.
I've been up for that for a few years,
Since the M series came out.
Since the M series came out, I'm like, put Mac OS on.
But give me touch. That's the big thing. I got to have touch. I've gotten used to using touch on the iPad, and that makes up for some of the limitations of the iPad in my use, but not for everybody. That doesn't work for everybody. I think the iPad's multitasking still leaves something to be desired, but it's a far cry from where it was a couple years ago. It's much better than it was, but it's still not where it needs to be. I think we need something closer to what Samsung Dux does, although that has its lockdown limitations as well, or closer to what we get out of a standard kind of desktop OS, something closer to that kind of feel. But we'll see where they go with it, and maybe iPad OS 18 might surprise us. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe this Ultra would be that thing. I don't know that those are all rumors, But having said that, I like the hardware. The hardware is what I want. and it works well enough for what I want. And
I'll tell you this,
you know,
I have more use for an iPad Pro than I do for a Vision Pro.
That's true.
I have to agree with that as well.
Yeah,
Although interesting pattern.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. I mean, there was that there, and then there was articles also going around about how Apple botched the Sonoma upgrade for Mac OS, and I'm like,
it works for me.
For a handful, all three of us said the same thing. It's like, who are you guys talking to?
I look at each of those problems, and I mean, I use things in such a way that I would think I would have hit those, or at least some of those.
You would think,
but I didn't hit any of that. I haven't had any trouble.
None
with
of us did.
Sonoma's been rock solid for me. Now I don't know. Everybody's different. I get that, but for me, it's been rock solid. You guys as well, right?
Right.
Every bit.
Right. Yep. So hopefully they'll come up with something soon, and we'll hopefully see Tim get on stage or do something.
Rumor is possibly tomorrow, but most people say if not tomorrow,
if it's tomorrow, then it's going to be done via just a press release.
I think so too.
If not tomorrow, it'll be someday.
Yeah. Well, it'll be someday, and odds are statistically right now. Odds are good that it would be, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, that it'd be sometime in April. And the reason is
Apple they like Tuesdays. We know that.
They do like Tuesdays. Yes. And I do think the other thing is that they're going to want to do whatever they do before we get to Macworld in June. So
sure,
I think they're going to want to have whatever hardware there is out
before
there.
WWDC, yes.
I'm sorry, I said Macworld. That's an old. That's
an
old. For those of us who are old enough to remember,
Macworld. It was a beautiful thing.
It was a beautiful thing. WWDC, thank you, in June.
Yeah.
And I would think they would want to do something or announce something before that, but we'll see. We'll see where they go.
We'll see what happens. All right. I want to go ahead and move us to our mobile Linux segment. And there's some interesting things that are happening here. Unfortunately,
again,
the EU is doing some non-compliance related. And I say that,
they're saying
sort of like, when Dr. Evil says laser, I got the bunny ears going on, right? Launches a non-compliance investigation against Google and the Play Store.
Against Alphabet specifically, yes.
Yeah.
Come on, man, help me out here.
So the Digital Markets Act, better in the EU, is better known as DMA, went into effect earlier this year. The new regulation requires Google, Apple, and other gatekeepers to comply with new rules that attempt to improve digital competition. As a part of this regulation, the EU can investigate whether or not these companies are compliant. And this week, the first investigation has been announced into Google. Apparently.
But yeah, what they're wanting to do is make certain that the owner of the App Store does not steer purchasers into a specific line of purchase and only supporting that line of purchase. They want to give others the opportunity to go out to another store and then bring that purchase back into their Android, right?
Yep. That's what it sounds like, and I say what you will about the EU. God bless them. But they also are just like our federal government, and they don't really know.
Yeah, they're not here to help.
For me, it's more like bless their hearts.
Yes, they're not here to help either.
Now, if they can do one thing, it would make me extremely happy, and that's just make it so that when I go into the Kindle app, be it on my Apple device or on my Android device, I can just buy a book without having to go open a web browser. It's the way it used to be.
That's currently the way. So that I think came about. I want to say 2016, 2018, sometime around there.
Yeah.
Apple
or Amazon wanted to.
Of course, by the same token, it occurred to me.
What
if we want to insist that they allow those purchases through the Kindle app?
Yeah.
Then shouldn't we also insist that the Kindle support the Google Play Store?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
By the same token?
Absolutely. And they should also support the Apple App Store.
Yep.
Shouldn't they have to?
Huh?
Shouldn't they have to?
I think they should.
They don't today.
I know.
So I'm
But
just saying,
that-
if you're going to take,
That's
if you're going to take one
that's
to
kind of a
task for
weird
it,
flex, though, because I'm
Right.
thinking,
Well-
because what's in the Apple App Store is iOS apps.
no, I get
and,
that, but
you
but
know,
at least,
and
but
that,
but at least within the Android space, you could say you need to support the Google Play Store. You need
Yeah.
to support other app stores, and that would apply to Amazon as well. You have to support
Right.
other
And I
app
have to
stores.
look in-
Right.
I'd
It's
have to
not.
look
It's
in-
not this vendor or this supplier or this platform.
right.
But everybody needs to play well with each other. So if
Yeah.
one is made to do it, I know
Yeah.
where you're going.
Mhm.
If one is made to do it, then they all should be made to do it.
Yep.
And everybody should be interoperable with everybody else.
Yeah, there you go.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
I get that. And I kind of like that. And everybody's going to hear that and go, oh, hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I would, if I were the DOJ or if I were the EU, acting under the DMA, I would say, well, then y'all stop complaining, stop your bitching, stop your futzing around. It either works or it doesn't work.
So do you suspect that the EU investigating and going after Google for non-compliance is just a lead up to them doing the same thing for Apple? I mean, that's kind of how that's how they behaved before.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, start with the easier one and then go after the bigger one. Is that what the thinking is?
Right. And
although Apple is not the bigger one there, but that's another story.
No, but if I were Tim Cook and if I were a betting man, and I'm really not either. So, I would be looking at my legal department and I would be saying, all right, y'all need to get ready. Because it's coming. If they're going after, they're using Google as their test case to see how it plays out, to see whether or not we're going to be able to actually do something with this, or if we're going to have to, look at it from a different angle. I'd say, Tim, you better get on it and get on it now.
Well, and there's rumblings. There's rumblings that this is going to happen in some of the Asian markets too. So, duck and cover. It's going to be a few years of lawsuits, because now I understand the consumers are starting to sue too here. So they're jumping again. It's the dog pile. They're jumping on the DOJ dog pile. And see where it takes them.
I agree. And it from a consumer perspective, man, I'm tired of this. All right. They are not providing me as a consumer. They're not providing me as a tech advanced consumer. They're not providing my wife, my boys, or anybody else in my family who's got a smartphone that may not necessarily understand all of these or aren't as tech savvy as I am. They are not helping them either. They aren't.
And again, you can buy what you want.
If you don't like the way Apple does it,
buy otherwise.
Get an Android. You don't like that Android? Get another Android. All right. If you don't like that Android, get another Android.
There's lots of choices.
There are. Well, no, there's really only two. Right. You get Apple or you get Android. Right. But you can get a different flavor. You can get a different flavor of Android, and you can root the device and put on a third-party ROM if you wish.
Yeah, you can do that.
Don't ever think about going back, though, and don't think about trading that device in anywhere else. All right, because that'll never be allowed. But there is choice out there. All right, there is choice. If you don't like the Android that you got, go look at another Android. If you don't like that one, go look at another Android. All right.
What if I don't like that Android?
Well, you could go look at another Android.
I can.
Right.
You can.
Wow.
And that would make everything just right as rain.
But you know what I'm not going to be able to do?
What aren't you going to be able to do?
I'm not going to be able to get third-party faces on my Fitbit anymore.
Oh man, this was disappointing. This was disappointing. Google is removing watch faces and apps from Fitbit watches. And this was disappointing to hear and see.
Disappointing, but not unexpected.
Not unexpected. I agree with you, Joel.
Yeah,
I do.
Because once Google bought Fitbit, the writing was on the wall for Fitbit.
Oh, sure.
Fitbit devices.
Oh, sure. They want you to go to the Pixel Watch, right?
Yep.
And they're really wanting everybody to move from a Fitbit to a Pixel Watch because all of the Fitbit services are going to be included in Pixel Watch.
Yep.
All right. But if you are a Fitbit Sense 2 or Versa 4 or Sense or Versa 3, Versa 2, Versa Lite, Versa or Ionic user, and all of those are Fitbit devices.
They're also
You're
fairly
probably
old
going to
ones,
be
too.
on the short.
They're all old.
They're all
I
they're
think
all
so. Yeah,
older.
very old.
They're
Yeah.
all
Okay.
older, right? And
Well, on one hand, I
would
want to say, well, geez, that's not fair for them to force everybody onto this. But if they're older, you're not going to support this stuff forever. End of story.
that is
Yeah.
true. That is true. But the idea, I think, with Fitbit is that they were going to support the older devices for as long as they could without completely deprecating the new watch or the old watch with the new functionality. You know what I mean?
You got the Versa
we-
Lite was from
Yeah.
from 2019, and
Okay.
what's the Versa 4? That sounds like it might be a newer
Right.
one.
There are some things I think that are here that are a quote unquote a little newer. All right.
Right.
Yeah,
the Versa 4 was 2022.
There you go. See, and that's that I would consider to be a little bit newer, but it's still 2 years old. All right.
But to pull a feature like a fairly major feature off of it that soon is probably not a great PR move. But the older ones I can see phasing them out, or even setting up a timetable where you would phase them out. But to just, I mean, if it can't support the current flavors of the OS, I get it. But it seems like it might be a little too aggressive there, but okay.
Well, the thing is here is if you move to a Pixel Watch or to a Pixel Watch 2 or maybe even the rumored Pixel Watch 3,
right?
All right, all of the Fitbit functions that you had in your Fitbit device.
I know, but this is the thing that we accuse Apple of all the time, of
Yes,
forcing obsolescence sooner than you need to. Or sooner than you should.
This is true, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to take all the services and all of the features, as many as they can, and move them into a single platform.
Then give me something for my old watch. Make it worth my while.
Yeah.
You know, because it's too soon.
There's a good idea. There's a good idea.
You haven't let me get my use out of it, so
give me $100 or $150 for the trade-in.
Yeah,
of my
give me
$300 pick for my $300
take the sting out of
3.
Take the sting out of it a little bit.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a good idea.
About here, but the ones you're talking about here are ones that are literally direct competitors for the Pixel Watch. Each and every one.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. But they own it, so it's not really.
But they own it, so they're still making the profit on the purchase.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
The ones that aren't affected by this are the ones I would typically consider that people who are just in it for Fitbit are the ones they would buy, like the Fitbit Charge Inspire 3, the Fitbit Lux, the Fitbit Ace. These are the ones that they're going to buy it and they're going to use that thing till it falls apart.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
People who buy a Pixel Watch,
fair enough.
People who bought the Fit Versa, they're not going to be used. They're going to say, "Oh, what's the best next thing for the Versa 4?" Well, the Pixel Watch. I mean, it's that
true.
simple.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, and I like the idea of taking the sting out of it. Give me a little bit more for my Pixel trade-in.
For my accelerating my deprecation or whatever.
Yes. Yes. No, but give me a little bit more for my trade-in if I'm trading in a Fitbit.
Yep.
All right.
And most of them are. I would say most of them are the ones that are. Like the probably the latest one on there, the Fitbit Sense 2, also a 22 device.
Yeah.
So probably the last gasp of the people that actually ran Fitbit.
Agree.
So,
agree.
I am more of like along the lines. Let's speed up that. Let's bring Fitbit completely into the Google framework. Add it to Google One for God's sakes, like you're doing in the EU, and I'd be really happy. So
there you go.
Well, but it would be nice. But
there we go.
Yeah, no, I get it, and it's a disappointing kind of thing. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with this too. But I truly believe they are doing this simply to try to get everybody. It's a planned obsolescence thing.
I don't think there's a negative motive to it, but they have to understand there is a consequence to it, and they need to help people, get there.
Right.
Be nice anyway.
And I guess we can continue the kvetching, but we'll do it after this brief message. Hi, this is Christopher Spera with iTechGear.org, and I'm here to tell you that iTechGear.org and the iTechGear Weekly are on Patreon. Patreon is a platform for creators, allowing them to express their creative side in an organized, marketable fashion and earn a living or create a really cool kind of side hustle. You can create a community around your hobby of choice. You can gain followers. You can get members and supporters all along the way. You can create subscription products that for a pledged amount every month, you'll provide to your members and followers. Setup is easy. Prices are reasonable, and you can have your pledges auto-deposited into an account of your choice every month. With iTechGear.org, our initial offering is a monthly newsletter for just $3 a month. This is our initial offering, and we'll have other tiers and other products and other offers up in the coming months. Become a patron of our site. Grow with us, and we'll provide you with the tech understanding that you're missing right now. Join us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/iTechGear. That's www.patreon.com/iTechGear. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 83. The other shoe is dropped. And I want to go ahead and take us into our Windows segment. Yeah. I know. It's exciting. It's exciting as it is, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you how exciting it was.
Well, talk to me about how exciting the Surface event, was. So,
well, it's a business only event, really.
Yeah.
Well, now,
so how exciting are you going to get?
I watched every minute of it, and I'm telling you what, boys and girls, 40 minutes of Copilot and 5 minutes of Surface. Well, not quite that bad, but pretty close.
Close enough.
You know, this year, just like last year, Microsoft showed up at the Surface event pulling a trailer full of Copilot. And here's what I hate, and then we'll go into the event. But what I hate to hear from Microsoft is, dear Windows users, we don't care if you don't like Copilot, and we don't care if you don't need Copilot. We're going to shove Copilot down your throat anyway, and you'll learn to love it and use it, or you could just change operating systems. You know what? That's not a bad idea. I can almost hear him crying now. Hey, Tim Cook, you got room over there for us in your walled garden?
And I will broadly say, between these things and the other things that they've done to Windows 11, I'm getting real close. I'm getting real close to being on my last Windows machines ever.
Right.
Because
I was thinking about buying a new Surface Laptop 6, but I think not now. I really do.
There are two interesting things that are coming up, but it wasn't in this Surface event. All right. The two interesting things are the business laptops, or the consumer laptop 6 and the consumer Pro 10, right? Those will have an ARM option, and that's interesting.
And possibly a different physical design, by the way.
Yeah.
But let me finish the event real quick first, because they did announce that there would be a Surface Laptop Studio 2, which will start at $10.99, and the Surface Laptop Go 3 starting at only $7.99. But don't get me wrong, there's a great improvements to both these laptops. But the elephant in the room for me, anyway, was that the Laptop Go 3, as nice of a form factor as it is, and it really is. Chris G, I'm surprised you don't like that machine, other than the fact that it's underpowered, because it's so small,
which
pretty.
One? Which one?
The Surface Laptop Go 3.
Because you can't, you got to, again, it isn't, it's slow. It's a slow
that's
device.
What I'm saying. Let me beef it up. It maxes out still today with a meager i5. Come on, Redmond, let me upgrade it.
That's a problem. Yeah.
Yep.
But I have held that thing and used it, and man, it is so nice. It really is. 12-inch screen and just beautiful keyboard
Well, if you're,
and
and again,
display.
if you're a casual user, those are wonderful things.
They are. They are.
All right. I know that there are a lot of prosumer. There's a prosumer area in here somewhere that needs to be defined, in
Right.
my opinion. All right. Because as a consumer, I wouldn't touch the Surface, the one you're talking about, this
Laptop
Surface,
Go, yeah.
the Laptop Go 3 with a 10-meter cattle prod. I wouldn't even wouldn't go anywhere near it. Why? Because I want the pro level features in my consumer related stuff. I want to be able to do a little bit more with my device, maybe than you, the product owner over at Microsoft, had initially thought about.
Well, gosh, here's the other thing too with the Laptop Go 3. Yeah, it's a nice form factor, but let's look at the price of that thing. I can get a really nice laptop with better
For $800
specs
bucks,
for
yeah.
$800. That's
Yeah.
the thing, and I could literally say the same thing about the Laptop Studio 2, which those are the only two consumer machines that
You know,
are
as
listed on
we
their
speak,
website as
Joel, at
new, right?
Costco, I just saw a Lenovo with an i7 and 32 gigs of RAM for
There you go.
$899.
Yep.
And
Now
a
that's
terabyte.
compelling.
Yep.
And let me point out the Studio 2 and the Go 3 aren't actually released. They announced that the Surface Pro 10 for business and the Laptop 6 for business.
Right.
Those are the only ones that actually were released at this point, or
Right.
cleaned out.
The
The rest of them are
business
just
ones,
talked
right.
about. The rest of them are just sort of talked about at
But
this
they
point.
brought them on stage and played with them, though.
But they don't have a scheduled kind of release for them yet.
Not yet, but we're hoping. We're hopeful.
Well,
right?
along with the consumer flavors of the Surface Pro 10 and the consumer flavor of the Surface Laptop 6, which we also don't have yet, which both are supposed to have physical differences with the current Surface Pro 10 and the current Surface Laptop 6. So let's see where they go. Those things haven't come out yet. So I would
wait,
expect
you know
later this
what?
year.
I just hold it, boys and girls. I'm up there on the Microsoft site, and as we speak, big bright yellow stickers saying
just what I was saying.
new.
Yes.
On you can order them. Surface Laptop Go 3 and Surface Laptop Studio.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
They must have just done that.
Yeah, because they weren't in their previous release so far, other than casually kind of mentioned as an aside. So okay, that's exciting. That's very exciting.
Build and go, it says.
Yep.
So, but my bigger concern, and I've said this before, Larry, when they went to the Surface Pro 9 and they went to and the Surface Pro 10 kept exactly the same form factor, really.
Right.
They're too thick. They're too freaking thick. They're too thick. The Surface Pro X was a much nicer box in terms of its physicality, and I would like to see the consumer 10 be more like that. Now, will it? I don't know. We'll see. But again, with all these changes to Windows 11, the forcing of Copilot down our throats, I question any decision to buy anything Windows based anytime soon.
Yep.
Agreed.
I mean, Copilot just, to me, what you let's separate the AI piece out of it. It just feels almost like a rebranding of Cortana to me. It really does. I mean, it's got more capability.
Yeah,
I never used Cortana to start with, so I can't.
And Larry, didn't we not both talk about, like, the first thing we did was disable Copilot on our
instantly.
Windows 11?
I have too. Yeah,
I've tried. I did try. I'm going to be honest. I tried to get to know it. It's just not for me. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Yep.
I'm not thrilled at anybody's solution for it right now, and I wish they'd all not throw it down my throat, because I don't want it from anybody at this point.
Quite frankly, I'm getting awfully tired of hearing the two letters AI being attached to every single little thing,
and being used incorrectly, by the way, as you
too.
I am exhausted from dealing with it and hearing about
Let's call them what they are.
Unfortunately,
they're not
most people truly need AI just to learn what AI is.
Right.
Yeah. But then you're going to get a biased opinion about what it is.
That's true.
That is true.
So yeah,
Totally agree.
none of it works for me either. I'm with you guys. It's not where I want to be at all.
Nope.
It's not what I want to do. It's not where I want to be. And I'm a
Oh,
little
yeah.
concerned.
The other thing that they did, they put yet another new version of Copilot has just gone out to beta testers on the Insider.
And I want to say that this all makes me a little nervous about this talk about Apple throwing a bunch of AI crap into iOS 18. If that's true, again, if they did it where it's just assisting certain apps to run a little better, that's one thing. If they did it where it's all over the place like Copilot is,
Chris, don't you think that Apple's going to learn from Microsoft's mistakes?
I sure hope.
If anybody will implement this in a professional way, I think it will be Apple.
Yeah, it's got to be. Again, AI.
But then again, they're the makers of Siri, so come on. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, for me to want AI has to do something I care about, right? Just making my queries better is not what I'm looking for.
That's not the only thing. That's not the only thing you should be looking for.
And when it fetches me wrong results, I'm not happy.
No, but I know you guys. You guys use things like Hey Google and apologize for anybody's things I triggered. Chris might want to beat me out before the podcast goes out, but for those of you that use those things, more power to you. I don't use any of them. I don't like any of them. I don't like my stuff going somewhere and then coming back for interpretation. I don't like any of that. I don't like the voice activation on any of this crap. So I don't care about any of it, and I don't want it. I don't need it. What I do like is when things like, and I think Google's a little selfish keeping this to the Pixel products right now, but they should put it in the Android OS. But things like, where the AI helps you cut an image out of your photo, that's a useful feature to me. I want AI to do that kind of stuff for me. I don't want it to do. I don't want another search engine. I don't want another, responses to my inquiries to be better. I don't care about that. Help me with the day-to-day tasks. Help me with the little things that I do.
And this is why I like the Adobe Creative Cloud, because in their version of using AI, that's exactly what they did. I can bring a photo into Photoshop, and I can say, I don't like the sky that's in my photo. I want to replace it with blue sky, and it does it.
And I'm okay with the fact that products like we're using now where we're all on Zoom recording this or any of these video products right now. I like the fact that AI helps my audio and my video be a little cleaner and a little better without me having to work too hard at it. That's great.
I agree.
But that's what I want it to do. I don't want it to do this other intrusive stuff. I want you to help me, not get in my freaking way. Don't add layers to my.
That's a very good point.
Clip it.
Very, very good point. And it's starting to creep into even some other products, Joel, other than Adobe. I use Pixelmator Pro instead of Photoshop, and I can tell it to change a shirt color from blue to green, and it'll do it. Just boom, done. But it's not quite as far-reaching as the AI built into Adobe's products.
No, and it won't be.
But like Chris G said, this is what we, the users and the creators, want. We need that stuff.
Yeah, we do. We
12 definitions of what a 1975 iPhone looked like, or iPod.
I get it. There are certain things that you want to be able to do, and you want to be able to have the machinery and the horsepower behind it. You want to be able to have something that is going to work and work well for you. And right now, with the way things are going, especially out of the Surface stuff from Microsoft, I don't see it yet.
No,
and if I'm going to use it for writing at all, which I'm not, I use it for checking writing. But if you're going to use it for writing, you don't want to get sued for plagiarism. So, you got to be careful.
Well, and quite frankly, I think that what it does for writing in some ways actually makes it harder, because now you have to proof what it did and change it. So it didn't really help.
Use it backwards. Have it proof what you wrote. That works pretty well.
Fair enough.
Well, you do that. And Chris, you and I had a conversation about this. And one of the things that it can do, and this is one of the reasons why there are a lot of schools out there that are telling you, if you use AI to write your paper, we're going to flunk you and kick you out, because they will have known that that student or there's a way that it leaves a footprint behind, and they can check the document to see if it's done that. But also, it changes your voice.
Well,
right?
and that's the conversation you and I had. So we talked about the tool Grammarly, for example.
Yes.
And
I love Grammarly. I love Grammarly.
But the problem is Grammarly does not just check your grammar. It attempts to put it in what it thinks is a better voice. And the problem with that is that totally dissects my voice. And I don't want it.
5 years ago, Grammarly to me was better than it is today. I would agree with you. New AI infused crap.
I don't like what it's doing. I don't like the changes it makes. It makes changes to simplify grammar that I find to be offensive. And it loses the nuance of what I was saying by choosing something that's simpler. And that's what it does today. And it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
It should enhance my voice. It should not take over my voice.
Yeah. I mean, again, point out things that are that I'm saying that are grammatically incorrect. I'm okay with that. But sometimes you want something to be grammatically incorrect for a very deliberate reason. You want a certain punctuation to be a certain way for a certain reason.
Right.
And
you're trying to voice a certain topic in a certain light that people will know and understand.
Yeah.
This ain't right because.
Yep. So but the point is, and so these tools have gone too far in some cases, and that we need to kind of say, no. Let me tell you where the line is. Right. Don't cross the line. So, that's some example of some things I don't care for that's happening with AI, and all these things are like this. But we do have some good news on the Windows front. We've been complaining about all these things.
We do have some good news, and this is all editorial from my perspective. I don't know that I'm going to write something up at the side of this. I don't know that it actually warrants a full-blown article, but there's been change to the iCloud for Windows application. This has been something that came out probably about a few weeks ago. It came out with this particular UI update, and this particular set of updates came out with the Apple Music for Windows and Apple TV Plus for Windows apps that exited preview and are now out there in place of the old iTunes for Windows. iTunes for Windows now only does, I think, audiobooks and podcasts, and that's it. Everything else is either in Apple Music or in TV Plus.
Unless 3 weeks ago, I mentioned this. Yep.
Unless you're on Windows for ARM, in which case you still have to use iTunes.
True. So, which is fine. All right. But the new version of iCloud for Windows, it's pretty spiffy.
It is. I use it.
Really looks nice.
So here's the problem. Yeah, here's the problem though, Guy. And iCloud has this problem. OneDrive has this problem. Yep. They used to give you an option with the services where you could choose to mount your iCloud drive or mount your OneDrive and leave it as a mount point, and that's it.
Explorer, right?
And that's it. Now you are forced to sync a folder, and I don't want that.
Yeah, well, and I don't want that for a couple of reasons, because I use iDevices on my corporate life. I don't want corporate stuff being synced over to personal stuff necessarily. Granted, I don't put a lot of stuff in iCloud that's corporate, obviously.
And in my world, in my world, they do that with OneDrive. They do the same thing with OneDrive. They try to force you to OneDrive for everything, but they force you to the corporate OneDrive, and I don't want to use the corporate OneDrive.
We use Box stuff.
But there are some people out there who like to sync that stuff, Chris.
But I want the option. Larry, I'm not telling you to not have it. I'm telling you to give me a freaking option.
Give me the option.
Let me turn it off. Let me turn it off the way I want it.
Well, their option is rip it out if you don't want it.
Yes, it is. Right now it is, but it didn't used to be that way.
Right.
They changed it, and in a way that I think is a negative.
No, I'll give you that. Absolutely. I just enjoy it so much because now I can have all my notes, all that other stuff on my Windows machine.
Yep.
Which I may not have much longer if they keep shutting.
They keep on doing stupid shit. Right.
There's always
But having said that, the app is much more stable than it had been in a long time, and it
Oh,
certainly
it
looks
was
better.
abysmal, wasn't it? Before
It certainly looks better. There's no question that
It looks better. It functions better. The only problem that I'm having right now, and it's on one machine where I previously had iCloud for Windows installed, I cannot remove the old folder. It will not sync to the existing folder. It will not allow me to put another iCloud drive folder in the same folder that the existing folder is in. And I can't delete it. I
Can
can't
you remove the
create
registry
another
keys?
one. So yeah,
I think that's a system problem, Chris, because I did not
I do too.
experience that. I went from one to the other. Poof, just worked beautifully.
yeah, I understand, and so did I on a couple of other machines. It will not do that with this particular machine, and I don't know why. So
Interesting.
pissing me off. But yeah, so but that
I'm finding it kind of weird that one of the options in iCloud was to sync Chrome notes or Chrome bookmarks. I'm like, doesn't Chrome already do that?
I thought it did
Yeah.
through your Google account already.
It
Right.
does.
Okay.
It does.
right, you know.
So yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And that, kids, is effectively the show. We've got a couple of other things though. Don't go, but wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
Yes, there is more. We have got our new tip of the week segment. And you know,
Ding, 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 ding.
iTechGear.org was founded with the intent of making technology easy for everyone to use and understand. This particular team of august, published technologists.
Are you saying
that
old guys
Yes,
old
farts.
old
Yes.
guys
Old
catching?
cranky
That's what we
geeks.
are.
Yeah,
The
cranky
new
geeks,
cranky
yes.
geeks.
This team has dedicated their vast writing careers to specifically that purpose. And every week, starting a couple of weeks ago with episode 81, the iTechGear Weekly will feature a computing tip authored by one of our experienced editors. Questions, requests, and suggestions can be sent to tips@itechgear.org. And Larry, you've got the tip this week. So what's going on?
I do. But before I talk about the tip, I want to just add to what you said. We try and make these particular tips truly simple and useful. And a lot of times they're things that you knew about, but you forgot about, and you just don't use them. We're not trying to show you how to use containers and stuff like that. No, these are simple things. My tip today is keeping your software updated. Now, trust me on this one. I'm a technology handholder to about 1,400 people and a couple of organizations here that I support. And if I were to ask every single person, other than maybe one or two, when was the last time you checked personally to see if your operating system is up to date? Most of them would say, I don't know. Or
how do you do that?
Yeah. Do you have auto update turned on? I don't know.
Auto update.
So folks, really,
that?
I'm serious. These are simple things that we should do. Keeping your operating system updated and keeping all the apps that you use with that operating system up to date. It's crucial for maintaining your security, the functionality of your computers, tablets, phones, whatever. Operating system updates and antivirus updates for your apps. They often include even hidden security patches that'll address vulnerabilities. And we don't want these bad actors to get in there and take over your machine. So you got to go up. You got to check for updates. And oftentimes Windows will, and the guys here listening in this show will hear what they'll vouch for me on this. You'll go in there and Windows Auto Update is not auto updating. I don't know why, but we've all seen this happen.
It's true. It's true.
So
Very
just
true.
check once. I check every day, believe it or not. It's part
every
of my
time my machine
coffee
turns
morning.
on, I go and I run it. I run Windows Update.
I do too, guys.
I will add a little caveat to that, because sometimes if you go with an update like right when you see it come out, sometimes you get burned, guys. It does happen because they didn't.
But you don't know. We know, but
I know.
They don't know. That's the hard part.
I know that, and you know what? And I run into that in my corporate life every day, where I have to wait a certain amount of time before implementing something new, because it does there is a possibility that it'll break something else that we weren't expecting. And sometimes you can't know until you put it on there and try it. And I will say that in the case, we know, for example, with Apple and with Google itself, when they release an update and an update has a problem, they're both pretty good about getting updates out there more quickly. Other Android vendors, mixed bag.
Maybe not so much.
Yeah. But so, don't let even though you have to be careful, and I wouldn't mind quickly scanning the news for new updates out. Let's scan the news just to see if there's any key warnings. If there's any key warnings about it, because sometimes these things don't get beta tested as well as they should.
That's true. And a great example, and I want to thank Brother Joe for going ahead and bringing this to our attention as part of this. Apple has just recently released Sonoma 14.4.1 to resolve a USB-C related issue for peripherals that don't correctly connect to your Mac.
And they were the people that broke that one.
And they were the ones that broke it. So yes.
And an issue not everyone had, like none of us here.
None of us had it.
No.
Yeah.
But I have installed it. Go ahead.
For the people that had it, it was probably a big deal.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, sure.
Yep.
Sure. Absolutely. And from my perspective, all right. And this is a personal opinion. Your points about, be cautious, look at the, see what's been updated. Look as much as you can and are able to do without getting
don't delay forever. Yeah. Cause you gotta
without getting too nitpicky. Without getting too nitpicky.
Absolutely.
Say the truth. And this Apple thing is a really good example. I would have still, if you had a bunch of peripherals that got affected by this and they wouldn't connect, I still would have told you to do the exact same thing. Go update now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the security patches that might have gotten fixed.
Yeah.
Was way more
got the latest
important
security
than that
patches. It's
USB
got the
device.
latest updates to the operating system. It's got the latest, greatest, every little bit of things that you might need that you don't know about.
Yep.
And Apple turned around pretty quick. They released Sonoma 14.4, I think, last week. And this week they've released 14.4.1 to fix the problem.
They did.
So they'll turn around those things that are really crippling pretty quick.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
But install the updates and don't run, do not walk, and install the updates now. All the updates.
Yep. And I have to, like Larry says, I have to chide my wife about it. I'm like, when was the last time you updated your iPhone? Never.
I just end up doing it for her.
I've got my family. I've got my family. They actually ping me first and say, "Hey, I'm getting pinged on update, ABC, whatever that update might be. Right. Should I do it?" So they're trained. They know to do something, that this is important. They get it.
Good for you.
I get that. And I will tell you, my wife is very resistant to it as well. Even though, the boys are somewhat savvy. I'm pretty savvy. And she's always like, well, why does it have to change? Why does it have to be updated? I don't want it to change because then I got to learn something new. And the changes are coming too quickly, which is a valid point. All right. Yes. It's a valid point and it's a valid concern. But I would say, again, it doesn't matter. Go update, because if somebody comes in and blocks you from accessing all of your pictures or ruins all of your pictures, and then that corruption goes up into the cloud, you're screwed. Install the updates. Keep keep your personal information safe. Keep your memories, your precious memories safe. Keep them safe.
Please.
Right? And install the stuff that your operating system vendor, whether it be Apple, Microsoft, or whatever, is telling you to do. Get them all.
We say this so often on this show, and I'm going to say it one more time only because this week put an exclamation point on it again for me. Out of those 1,400 people I mentioned, 4 people just this week had money ripped off out of their computers because they let somebody take over their computer. Don't ever do it. Just don't do it.
Don't. Yes. So it's so important. And again, it's important to stay up to date, but it's also important to be aware of what the latest update looks like. and that there's nothing out there. If you can, within reason, but keep yourselves up to date, keep yourself safe. It's this thing. I know it's a drum we beat every week, but it's so true.
But it's true.
So true.
It really
but if one more person hears it and does it, we'll be happy.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Absolutely.
And when in doubt, guys, ask.
Yes.
Yep.
Tips at iTechGear.org. Okay. Just saying. All right.
Just saying.
And I now want to go ahead and move us to our pick of the week segment. And again, before we get there, I just want to take a moment and let everybody know and remind everybody that, our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and actually use and like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our listeners. These aren't paid advertisements or items that we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, the editorial policy at iTechGear.org says, thou shalt disclose that up front. These are really just things that we sincerely like, and we want to recommend them to you at the end of each episode. Why?
Because we like you.
There you go, kids. We do. And Larry, you've also got the pick of the week. So what are we looking at?
It's just my turn in the barrel, isn't it?
Yep, it looks like.
I think Joel
Fire two.
I think Joel and I go out of the technology box a lot with our picks. And I think it's a good thing because there are a lot of things out there that are useful and they're not always, a technology related item. So this week's show pick is actually a tire gauge, and the link is made by Jayco and available readily on Amazon. They have a lot of flavors, but truth be told, I'm a fanatic about keeping the tire pressure in both of our cars at precisely the same. I do it every week. I go out and check all 8 tires. I'm not doing so with a measuring instrument that's anything less than the best that I can find. The reasons are simple: safety and the longevity and the even wear of my tires, which right now a set of tires is well over $1,200 for some cars. And so if you measure a tire's pressure with 10 different gauges off 10 different store shelves, you're going to get 10 different readings.
Oh, very true.
They might vary as much as 5 pounds. Some of these digital tire gauges are reasonably accurate. Most of them are not.
And that's
I learned a long time ago from a friend of mine who I played golf with, and he owned a Firestone franchise. He said, and I got to believe him, it was his business. He said the most accurate tire pressure gauge in the world is made by this company, JACO. He put them in all of his workstations in that shop. And so basically the rest of this story is short. Go to Amazon, go to the link here, buy yourself a $27, $29, whatever it is, accurate tire pressure gauge. If you don't like the shape of this one, they have smaller ones, larger ones, whatever. But get this brand. They're all perfectly accurate.
See, that's
it. That's our pick.
The last time you did, it is. And the last time you just to go back to one of your older picks, the one you brought the pulse oximeter, I think they used the exact same one on me today at my doctor's appointment.
I actually used
wouldn't doubt it.
I bought one and I use it. So, I like it.
I checked with my doctor about that. I happened to talk with her. She said all of them are inaccurate. You have to find one that is the least inaccurate.
Yep.
Also,
so that it's just the nature of that instrument. They're never perfect.
And it goes back towards a little bit of our conversation about Google in that, yes, my Pixel Watch does pulse oximeter, but it doesn't let me do it right now. It's only at night. And I'm like, that's the main problem. Then the thing I like about things like this, a lot of folks, this is gonna probably play into a future pick for me, but I actually have to buy it yet. Because I like devices like these that aren't necessarily tied to the web or some other technologies.
Right.
So I think that this is a very good pick.
Awesome job. Well, all right, kids, that is the show for this week. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 83. The other shoe was dropped. Recorded live Monday, March 25th, 2024, live from iTechGear Central for Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, Mr. Chris Gavula, and Brother Joe McLaughlin. I want to say we'll see you next time.